All right, everyone. Welcome to game three. In this game, I decided to change my sideboarding a little bit. I decided to take out both biorhythms because I just feel that it's maybe just too slow. Usually against Parfait, it's just you have to play. You cannot risk it on the play. It's maybe possible, but you know I just think that instead I want to be on naturalize and even I'm trying. I think this game I wanted to test. Like, this is more of a test. I wanted to try out the Tormod script against Oath of Druids because if you can hit them at a good time, get rid of most of their deck, they may not be able to win. So I think I just wanted to play test again. I didn't think I'd be necessarily showing this video, but and so sometimes I just do random stuff. And really, how I probably should have sideboarded against this deck, like if we're actually if I actually put my mind to it, if what I would do is probably how I would sideboard. I might try one crypt, but probably you would want. It's hard to say really. I think I have to think about it a little bit longer, but I don't necessarily agree taking out the alkalite over. Like, probably what I would have done what would be to, usually it's like you leave in one priest because it's sort of like, you know you like you're either a priest deck or you're not. If you're afraid your opponent's going to wipe the board, then the priest is obviously not that good. So you usually just take those out, and if you're taking that out, my rationale is biorhythm becomes a lot worse. So I guess you have two choices. You can try to be the biorhythm deck, and you can have in the Priests of Titanias to support that. But again, it's like they like Pyroclasm with Mox Diamond. To me, it makes it very difficult to, like, it's sort of kind of tricky, I feel, to set up a biorhythm win against this deck. So I take the priest of the biorhythm out. That's probably what I would do. It's almost just like I think probably the anger should stay in reality, because if you're keeping Hermit, you should probably have the anger as well, because you just don't want to leave this thing out. It's important to have the anger. So that I probably would have kept in. I think I just ran out of time. I had only like 3 minutes to think about it, and again, I didn't really know. So in this situation, I probably would. The Master Core is probably fine being out. Like, it's probably I would try something like this maybe and not bring in another crypt. Like, this looks okay to me. Um, this all looks solid. I could see maybe playing another Collar of the Claw, you know, just in case, and also Ravenous Baloth. But I think here my game plan is just sort of to make sure, try to clear their with naturalize, try to clear their wall, Oath of Druids, and then you sort of have a bit of a chance. You can play Wall of Roots, and you might be able to get a deranged hermit and attack, sort of thing. Um, but yeah, I'm not really super sure, honestly. The best way to go about this. I was just hoping to go for hermit attacks with haste. That might be the best option against that deck. Just hoping you can hold them off long enough with naturalize. What I have found from my previous testing was the only thing really you have to worry about is the Oath of Druids. Like, that's the big thing. This deck, the way I built it, at least with the Wall of Roots and a Yavimaya Granger, you can sort of play around pyroclasms and engineered plagues, because okay, you just play Wall of Roots, and then you maybe can play a survival. You can maybe get this out with haste, but you can get it out with haste because you have Yavimaya Granger, and you're getting out lands that can't be really killed. I mean, because usually they don't have Armageddon, but anyway. So that's sort of what I was thinking. And then there's always just a little attacks with the elves, because usually they can't do anything about early beats with elves if they live. But I think there is value probably to playing in the second color of the claw as well. So I could also potentially see cutting the well, not really much else. You never really want to cut the elves. So I think this is sort of okay. If you have a different idea, I'd love to hear it. If you think I should have boarded differently, like maybe bring in some Ravenous Baloths or maybe both Tormod's Crypts, I'd love to hear it. But as you can see, the video's already 6 minutes, and obviously you only have 3 minutes to sideboard, so it's Parfait is a match I haven't played in a long time. So since the holidays, really haven't really encountered it in any leagues online. A lot of the paper players play it, but I haven't really seen it online. So I sort of spent my time testing against other things, and I kind of never really played the Biorhythm version against it. So again, it's another match where I think Tangle Wire is also bad, or it's not even bad. Tangle Wire is just, it's not good. So anyway, let's get into the game quickly, and we'll see how it goes. There we go. So this hand, I have the Crypt, and I have a bunch of artifact removal, so it's sort of, like attacking with little dorks adds up over time against his deck. Sometimes they just don't do anything for a while. So I keep this hand because I'm not like, I have a lot of interaction, and I think that's good. Like if they try to play they multi 6, by the way, so. But if the Parfait often mulligans a lot. They mulligan very well, but often if you don't draw like any oath or like this oath, the Parfait deck often just gets hands they have to mulligan. I guess not too often, like not so much often than any other deck. It's actually a consistent deck, but I find, like, and my point is, when I play Parfait myself, I tend to mulligan aggressively with that deck because you only need a few cards to operate. So sometimes it's worth digging for that extra sideboard piece, or just a hand that works, and not just like a 4-land hand with land tax. Like, you just want to mulligan that. So my opponent goes for the Oath, and again, Oath is the thing that you just want to kill the most. So I believe I kill the Oath. What do I do? Yeah. I kill the Oath, and for some reason I don't play the second elf, because again, Pyroclasm is a thing, and I don't necessarily need to. This game I play a lot better, I think. But I don't necessarily need. Usually when it comes down to game 3, I'm like, okay, I gotta focus now. But that's not. I mean, when I'm having fun, I should play to my potential all the time. But this deck is definitely onerous on the mind to play like all Saturday. So yeah, that's it. I just attack. I hold back the elf because I don't really need to play it, like I said, and opponent has a lot of stuff down. And here it's like I don't even want to bother to I was gonna Uktabi next turn the Mox, but at this point there's really no point because they already have a Mox, and now if it's much better used on a scroll rack. Scroll rack you want to get rid of. But the interesting thing is scroll rack and land tax aren't really that good on their own. They're okay, but like when you get them both together, that's when you have trouble. So I'm just like, I'm gonna just hang on to this, which maybe that was the wrong play because at this point I'm like, well, I don't have any threats, and there are often a lot of games against Parfait as Elves is you just want to get a few creatures down, and if they don't draw anything for a few turns, you have a clock, whereas a 1/1 clock isn't a good clock, right? So I think at this point I decide not to do anything, but I'm starting to think I probably should have just played the elf there because now I'm like, okay, nothing really. My opponent has one card in hand, and I'm like, okay, well, now's the time to not give them draws. So they would have. I just decide to. I mean, at this point, I have the collar or the claw, so I'm like, okay, I don't really care if you. I don't really care at this point, right? If you want to pyroclasm because I have the collar, which again is, I think I should definitely have two collars in this matchup. Collar was good in my testing, so I actually don't know why I didn't bring in both. I just play out my board because again I'm not worried if they want to pyroclasm me, you know, they're just gonna lose, or even an engineer plague. And here, you know, I decide I don't play the Octavi, but again, I think I really should have because it's not going to do anything anymore. That was probably the biggest mistake of this game. I should have played the Octavi Orangutan on a Mox. I mean, as useless as it would be, the object of the game is now they're in top deck mode, and let's not give them a draw. So if that Octavi came down like a few turns ago, it's hard to see that the game would have went that way, but you know, and I guess now, since I have the collar or the claw, even if the Octavi dies, it's fine. Whereas before, I didn't have the collar or the claw, so I didn't necessarily know that playing the Octavi was the best play. So I play Seal of Cleansing, which is kind of a relief. Which is also why I don't necessarily just play Tormods, because there's no reason to play Tormods right now. And so here I'm like, okay, I gotta play the. At this point, I'm like, I gotta play the Octavi. So really, you know, my opponent should be at 9 life because really that Octavi certainly should have come down last turn, which I'm kind of kicking myself for because that if they do have a Wrath now, them being at 9 life is actually lethal, whereas at 11 life, that's 10 damage. That's actually not lethal, and potentially 9 if they have an Engineer Plague because the Collar of the Claw is going to be a 1/1. So that'd be 9 damage with 4 bears. So definitely I should have played. If I played that a turn earlier, that could have made the difference in this game. So here comes the Clasm, and you know tap. You know so, but at this point it's too late for my opponent, and I believe they just concede at this point. But they're not actually dead. So that's the thing, right? Like if the thing is though, at this point they'd have to draw the second Clasm here because, you know, Oath is just too late. You know, they can play a top deck an Oath, but it takes a turn. So I attack, and I believe my opponent just scoops. Or do they draw their card? Oh, they do draw their card. Okay, and then they scoop. But yeah, you know, I potentially could have lost that game if they had I guess not. If they had a Clasm, I could have just played a Quirion Ranger, but that's not the point. Like that playing that Octavi, realizing that your opponent's in top deck mode and playing that Octavi earlier is important because again, sometimes there are games where this deck just wins through the little things, just a little like Collar of the Claw and a bunch of little creatures gets the job done, and so that's important. Not often do I have games like that though, so usually I'm more on the let's wait till you have survival and get value out of your spells against these interact. Like usually I try to play this match very interactively, so in my head I'm thinking like I don't want to see a scroll rack, but at the same time scroll rack is just too slow, especially when they don't have a lot of cards in hand and no land tags. Scroll rack is pretty useless anyway. So anyway, that's the game. That's the match. I hope you liked it. Again, if you enjoyed these videos, please feel free to like and subscribe or leave comments in the below if you have any feedback. I really appreciate it. thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.